In part two, let's take a look at maybe some basic ways how we could build a scene. For example, place lights, materials, and we do it really basic in this one first. Just to help myself, I'm going to set everything to 0. So for location, through the 3D cursor, I'm going to create myself a big plane, scale this one up. Okay. And maybe I would like to have a wall. GZ there. Maybe this one should go over more towards the table. So zip. Okay. Something like this. Good. Now, in digital rendering, you basically have lights, and then you also have a camera, and you have a world setting. Let's set this one to cycles. And what I do right now actually might sound a little bit abstract because there is nothing really in real life that is similar to it, but this is actually a really convenient and productive way how to work with cameras and lights and how to guide them. So we will create a camera which we can move around, and then we will create a so-called look at target for the camera. So wherever this look at is, the camera will look at, like it says look at. So how we do this, we go to add camera and move this one away. Add empty plane axis, and we move this one to there. So I'll rotate my view. Now this is really important now. You see when I click one object and I shift click another object, this one is less orange, this is more orange. As I click another object, those are less orange, this is more orange. The last one you select, so the bright one, is always the so-called active object. And we want to make this camera actively tracking this one. So that's the reason why I first select the camera, then select the empty, and then I press Control T to create a constraint. And I say track to. You see now immediately the camera starts to look at that empty. If I move that empty, see the camera follows it. Pretty awesome. So what can I do with this? I can, for example, put this one to there, put this one to there, go into top view, and we say, well, maybe look from there and there. So you see the blue line tells me the axes I look along. So that's actually very easy. Maybe at this point, actually I would like to do this. I'm going to click, move this one down, and click and move this one to the side. There. Then I click my camera and press 0 on my numpad. Or say view active camera. Yeah, there. Press N, zoom in a little bit. And here, for example, now I can move this empty. You see, I don't really move the camera, but I'm just rotating it. So pretty nice feature. Can also go to here and maybe move to there. Design my shot a little bit better. So you see I'm working with 2 viewports at the same time. Really nice. And mute that. Perfect. Okay. Now I need a light. So I do the same. I press Shift A, create a lamp, and actually I'm going to use area. Move this away. Shift A, empty. Click the light, click the empty, Control T for track to constraint. Perfect. And then, for example, I can move this one to there, move this one to there. Okay. So Also here, for example, if I move the light to the side and move maybe this empty to the side, then I can change, for example, where the light is positioned, where my light looks to. Select the light, go to light, because I would like to change now the properties for the light. I mentioned today in class that actually the property buttons, that's kind of like the viewport where we see all the values for all our objects. So when I click the camera, I see all the camera stuff. If I click the light, I see all the light properties. For example, it's an area light, it casts a shadow. This one should be turned on. And the light is just an inch big. Not big enough. 2 feet. Zip. Maybe 3 feet. No, actually, let's make 6 feet. Perfect. Okay. It has a strength of 100. That currently doesn't really say a lot. So in here, I press Shift B. You should get this line, drag, and then you should see this dotted line. So why did I do this? If I now press Shift S, I should see a rendering. You see there, now you see the light coming from the left, the object. And if I don't want this anymore, just go to bounding box. Now currently this is a little bit slower. I work on a pretty old computer and I'm doing the screen recording at the same time. On your computer it will be a lot faster. Maybe this one should be, let's go back to 4. I would like to have a copy, so Shift D, move everything, move this one to there, move this light to there, there. Let's take a look. See, looks already very different. So maybe the lights are really too strong. So select a light and say, hey you, 25. Select this one and you, 50. So you see that actually now it doesn't really look so burned out anymore. It's a little bit better. And also a note about the size of a light. The smaller the light, look at this, the sharper the shadows, because it's a smaller light surface, so shadows will be sharper. If the light is really big, you get a more diffuse or soft illumination, but at the same time also you get much bigger diffuse shadows. And this one maybe I could move to fill the screen, maybe go into edit mode, AASX, scale it so it fills the background. Okay. Maybe I don't like it. Sorry, maybe just simply delete these points, select those, zoom out, zip, move this really far away, and zip, move this one to there, and zip, and zip, move this one to there. Okay, now we see it's basically a really big background and the light slowly fades out. Now you noticed, hey, when I only have these 2 lights, well, why is the light in the background? And that is because when we go to the world, we have something on here. If I set this to black, then zip, it will be nice and black. So this looks a little bit more like a studio now. Okay. I'm not going into materials in this scene yet. That is what we're going to do next class. But currently I showed you how to place, for example, those lights. I can click this light and actually change the type. For example, it should be a spotlight. And maybe I move the spotlight up. And maybe I move the spotlight away. Maybe this light for the moment I would like to have no light And there you see now the spotlight illuminating a little bit of light from the upper left corner, maybe 100. And currently everything is pretty dim, so I could go to the world, click use nodes, and in case you see this already, then don't worry, you don't need to click use nodes. And for example here I set this one to maybe 1, and maybe the strength simply to 0.25. And this, for example, looks currently very bleached out, and that's of course also fine. We kind of like created a huge glowing dome that emits light, and then we turned it down a little bit, and now for example here I can add a little bit of more light, and you see at this point maybe I start burning out my things a little bit. So now you at this point maybe you might ask, well, how do I know what value to enter for the strength? And you will see the more we work with it, the more you start realizing you just trust your eye how to set those values. They're really, it's really from scene to scene very, very different. So if I, for example, move this one down also a little bit closer, you see I can change the shadow, goes more this direction. Maybe I move the light, oops, to there. Then the light comes more like from the camera. The shadows goes away from the camera. So you see, it's actually not very difficult. Now we have a few minutes left to maybe take a look at some really basic settings for materials. So for example, I can click this plane, go to material, new, and say, well, maybe this should be diffused. So that's fine. Let's maybe click this, the lag, new, and maybe this should be, I don't know, maybe a nice dark blue. So you see I can click on a color and click on the countertop. So you see at this point it makes sense to have different views. New, I don't know, maybe something like a wood color for the moment, just very basic. So you see this way you can easily create some very quick material settings. And maybe this one we switch back to to an area light. Move this one back in there. Maybe move this one up a little bit. Or how does it look from the side? Okay. So what I would like you to do for next class is basically rebuild exactly the same scene. Play with the lights a little bit. So you start getting familiar how all this actually interacts with each other. Now, at the moment, this rendering looks pretty crappy. That's fine. I didn't really do a lot actually with it yet. And we're going to, as our warm-up exercise next class, we're going to continue working on this one quickly, and then we will actually put in the fusion models, and then for example try to give it a nice plastic material or metal material, and then create a nice environment. And you will see actually then the moment when you start building more realistic materials, your renderings will start look also much better.